So let me tell you how your final is going to be, just so you know. You will be in a group of 2 or 3. You get to pick the group. And I will give you kind of a list of 5 different problems in which you and your group have to pick one of them, and you get to present it. So I'll give you like 20 minutes of the final period to kind of get your thoughts and ideas together, and then you get to present it. Hopefully everyone gets 100%. Deal? Don't miss the day of the final, because I really don't want to have you come back and say, okay, this is my final. So even if your appendix is falling out. All right. So let's take a look at this page. It says simple interest. Okay, so these last couple weeks are all about some sort of money, whether it was how much it's going to cost you to do this or that, or save to get to this or that, or just a lot of real life situations. So future value. Okay. So if we look at example 1, and we can go fill out these words. Make sure your earbuds are out and phones are away, please. This first one, I'm not going to worry about filling in this data because there will be enough information here to go along with it. It says if $8,000 is invested for 2 years at an interest rate of 9%, how much interest will be received after the 2-year period? Okay, so you understand the idea? You put $8,000 into some sort of account that earns 9%, which is really good. So few things to know when you're talking about saving money. There's a key that's called the rule of 72. And if you haven't learned anything all year or all semester in this class, rule of 72 is actually one that you will apply in real life. I know that you have a calculator with you at all times because you have one on your phone. Agree? And it's pretty rare if you show up someplace without your phone, because you'd rather show up without shoes and socks on than show up without your phone. Agree? All right. So, rule of 72 works like this. Make 72 the top, and you take whatever your interest rate and you go on bottom. And 9 goes into 72 8 times. So this means that if you were to earn 9% interest, you would double your money. So you'd go from $8,000 to $16,000 in this particular scenario in 8 years. Now, it's not always exactly that. It's just a ballpark. But it's called the rule of 72. I've also seen it used as the rule of 70, and I've seen it used as the rule of 74. But rule of 72 is kind of the best thing to do. Just go 72 divided by whatever your interest rate is, and that'll tell you how quickly your money can double. Because a lot of people with savings accounts often will think, oh, I'm going to put my money in and it's going to like double next year. It's not going to double that quickly. Okay? So rule of 72 is the most important concept of this information. So if I wanted to invest $8,000 for 2 years at an annual interest rate of 9%, how much interest? So how much on top of it? And so what we're going to do is we're going to use a pretty basic equation, and a lot of times they call it PERT, where the R and the T are the exponent, E is the exponential. Okay? So for this particular problem, we're going to take our 8,000, which is our P. That's going to be our T, 2 years. Interest rate, we're going to change 9% to 0.09. Just move the decimal 2 places to the left to get rid of the percentage sign. And then they want to know what the interest is at the end. So what we will have to do at the end is subtract this. So I have E raised to the R. R we said was 0.09. And T we said was 2 years. And you just, you can always borrow one of these calculators during class. 8,000, you'll find E, and then raised to the 0.09 times 2. So this tells us after 2 years, we now have $9,577.74 rounded up to the nearest penny. But this says how much interest. So in that $9,577.74 is your initial $8,000, but your money is compounding. It's making money on itself. So what I want to do is I want to subtract 8,000 from this, and this means that in 2 years, your money made you $1,577.74. Okay? And some people will ask, well, is that good? And the answer is yes. You know, you want to sit there and think about what you want to do with your money, and you want to make, you know, if you have money to spare, which, you know, the hard thing with money to spare, especially as you're starting out in life, is a lot of times you're spending everything you're bringing in, and unfortunately, like the rest of the nation, you find an easy out because it becomes a convenience where people will get themselves in some serious credit card trouble. Okay? Oh, look, they keep sending me things for credit cards. Yeah, they do. They want you to use them because, oh, it's so convenient for you to make the minimum payment. Unfortunately, the credit cards are so much interest they charge you. I mean, credit cards are anywhere, and they tried to limit this a few years ago, but it fell out of the House on the vote, which goes to tell you, are the people that work for us that are passing laws getting kickbacks? And it is very possible that there's monetary things that are coming to ensure things take place. It would be great if they just said, hey, credit cards have 5% interest and we're done. Unfortunately, they're up to 28%.
What page is it?
79. Okay? So, if you can, you know, realize saving money is a good thing to do because you're saving for yourself, you're investing into your future, saving money would be a great thing. And, you know, $8,000 certainly is not enough to go and retire off of, but this is a very simple equation to use when you're doing this. But then we get into, if $4,000 is borrowed, okay, so you need to go get a loan for $4,000, and they're going to have you pay for 39 weeks at an annual interest rate of 15%. How much interest is it due at the end of 39 weeks? And I can still use this equation. I can still go back to use this equation, but I could say, okay, now we're using this equation to see how much I would owe. So my P is going to be 4,000. My E stays as the exponential, which is on the fancier calculators, second of ln is where you find the E. And then you have to think, okay, 39 weeks at an interest rate of 15%. Well, let's change this 15% to 0.15. And then 39 weeks, I'm going to go 39 divided by 52 because there's 52 weeks in the year. Okay? And so if you had actually borrowed, and this is a real thing, like people might have spent on, you know, oh, I went to, well, I don't know, some store that would sell you a television, and I'm not talking the rent to own, I'm just talking about a regular store that's not a rent to own. But they're going to, you go buy yourself a TV, maybe a table that you can eat at, and maybe a sofa, and maybe a bedroom set, and you went and spent $4,000, and they said, well, yeah, you know, if you pay this off in 39 weeks, great. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. Now, the big key here is recognizing you have a fraction because 39 weeks is not a full year. So we have a relationship, and you can go 39 divided by 52 on your calculator. You can figure out what decimal that comes out to, or you can just keep it like that, and the calculator will handle it. So if I do $4,000, second ln, 0.15, times 39 divided by 52. This comes out to 4476.29 rounded to the nearest penny. Now realize this is how much you have to pay back total, but if you subtract your original $4,000 from this, you realize that you paid this company an extra $476.29 in interest. Okay, think of interest in this case is it was a convenience for you to do it. You didn't have the $4,000 up front. You don't even need a credit card to do these types of things. But does it become worth it to you to say, hey, yeah, I want this now. It's worth me paying $476.29 extra on my payment. But in reality, it gets a little crazy if you think about it. If you do this a couple times, like you went and you got all your furniture, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, well, I know if I go to the store, I can go get myself a Dillard's credit card, and I can get myself a really great wardrobe and get caught into that, and all of a sudden you are owing so much in interest because you are borrowing from companies and corporations for you. So this could be a scary trait that you might get caught up on. Any questions so far about kind of how this works? Yeah.
So it's like the more money you spend on your card, the more interest you pay. Like if that was like it says like 4,000 is borrowed, but like if you borrow 10,000, it raises.
It could. It could be a sliding scale. But sometimes it might be a sliding scale going backwards. It's like, hey, if you borrow 4,000, we're going to charge you 5%. But if you borrow 10,000, we're going to charge you 3%. Okay? The corporation's goal, and again, when I say corporations, I'm talking about the billionaires of the world, that they own this type of industry. I mean, you have 8 billion people on the planet. Okay, that's a lot of people. Their goal in any established countries that have an infrastructure similar to the United States, which is a great deal of countries, regardless of who the government is, they want their people in debt because you owe that money. And there are some of these that, people will say, oh, if I file bankruptcy, no big deal. Well, the thing is, you file for bankruptcy, yeah, you might get this gone, but they're going to tap into your liquid assets to try and liquidate some of those liquid assets. Now, certain countries have certain rules, like here in the United States, you can't lose your home because of bankruptcy. And what they will actually do is they will itemize this, and this is coming from personal experience because my father, when he filed both personal and corporate bankruptcy, when my dad filed for that, he was allowed to keep my mom's car and his car. My car that was provided wasn't a necessity. It was gone. My sister's car that was not a necessity was gone. Okay, so the banks took it and went and sold them. If you own secondary properties, like if you have a vacation home that you own, that can be liquidated during a bankruptcy. Your bank accounts, they can take down to a certain amount or a certain percent, and that's where actually I lost all of my money that was saved for me to go to college, including what I had put into my own savings. It wasn't protected. So a lot of people think, oh, bankruptcy is my great out. No, bankruptcy is basically like, okay, you're starting from square one. You can keep your house and you can keep your car and your spouse's car, and that's it. Oh, you have a boat? Okay, we're going to sell that. You don't get that anymore. You don't need that boat. Okay? Those are all things that go away, but this becomes a big trap for people, and you have to really, really watch out for you being number one, on how this can be harmful and what to do, and hopefully some of you have, or all of you have taken to heart what I have said. I'm not saying that the world is a bad place to own stuff. It's a bad place to own stuff if you put yourself in too much debt where you can't afford it, because even with the minimum payment, it becomes something tough. A lot of people throughout the United States will live paycheck to paycheck, meaning that paycheck I get every 2 weeks or every month or every week, whatever your payment, your job pays you. There are some people that will spend all of that, and have nothing more to share or to save or to do anything with. I mean, just imagine, one of your big things that you guys all take for granted right now is a lot of you will enjoy, your fun drinks that you get. I'm going to go to Starbucks and drop $6 for a coffee. And I just keep putting it on the credit card. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal if you pay it off each month because you don't have to pay interest on it. It is a big deal if you can't pay it off each month, then you have to put a payment down because all of a sudden your $6 Starbucks coffee, done over and over and over again, could wind up costing you $12, $13 over the lifetime of you paying back the loan against your credit card. Okay? All right, can I clear this? Cool. All right. So compounded interest, an investment in which interest is paid into an account at regular intervals throughout the duration of the investment. After investment payment is made, that interest as well as the principal earns interest. So example, $2,000 invested for 3 years at 10%, compounded annually. How much is this future value, and how does this differ? Okay, so I had already given you one equation that looks like this. But there's another equation when we are compounding only once a year. Okay, now what's kind of fun about this is utilizing this calculator, and I want to walk you through this calculator, so I'll bring these out, and if you need one, snag one. If you have one, get it out. Got one? Got one? Got one? Look at that. She has her Discover card out. She's already in. You got one? Cool. You got one of those, or you need one? You got one? You guys got one of those? Oh, sorry. You got one. You got one of these? You guys got one of these? You got one? You got one? All right, so let's walk through this. Let's walk through this problem utilizing the calculator, because the calculator is going to be so much more user-friendly when we jump into it. And I just got to get to the right page. Do you have a graphing calculator by chance? No. Got one left. We saved one for you. Yeah. All right. This real quick. All right. Come on, baby. All right, we got 396,605. All right, so let's bring this calculator up. And okay, so first thing you should do if you are borrowing my calculator is you kind of get rid of the messiness. So you're going to hit the second, and then you're going to hit plus. You still with me? And then what we're going to do is we're going to reset the memory on the calculator, because you never know who borrowed this calculator, kind of goofy modes they changed it out of. So you go second plus, and then you go hit reset, number 7, and then all RAM, and then reset all of it. And it's going to come back with this kind of screen. And that means that the memory on the calculator is cleared. Okay? Anyone need me to run through that one more time? We're good? All right, so that example was up on the board. It says if you invested $2,000 is invested for 3 years, 10% compounded annually. Okay? That means it's compounded one time a year. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to find the APPS button, which is 3 above the 7. And you're going to go into Finance, and then you go into the TVM solver. So you go to APPS, Finance, TVM solver. Okay. So it says that this was invested for 3 years, compounded annually. So if it's compounded annually for 3 years, I'm going to have n equals 3. Okay? That means that it's going to take place with, doing it 3 times a year. We have an interest. We don't have to convert this to a decimal. We're just going to plug 10 in right here. And I'm going to do a previous value, our $2,000. We're not going to put anything else into it. We're just going to one time put $2,000 in. And then compounded per year, we're going to keep these as 1 and 1. If it's compounded each month, these change to 12. So if you hover over the future value, once you do that, you hit alpha, enter, and that's going to tell you that your one-time lump sum that you put in, that you get 10% interest, which compounds one time a year for a total of 3 years. That's going to tell us how much is our future value. Our future value, and ignore the negative, so they'll throw a negative in there from time to time, but your future value on this investment for a 3-year investment is $2,662. Came out to a nice round number. It's not giving us any pennies or anything like that. So how does this differ from simple interest? Well, if I did my simple interest, so hang on, I'm going to write this down. I got $26.62. But if I did the same thing with the simple interest, it's going to work this way. I quit out of here, and I'm going to take that $2,000, and I'm going to raise it to the E, and then I'm going to do 3 years, 10%. So 3, and you have to change the 10% to a decimal, so 10% of a decimal is 0.10 or just 0.1. So if I did this, it would have came out to $26.99.72. Okay? But that's compounding continuously, meaning each moment of each day, of each week, of each month, of each year, it's making more money on top of itself. So a one time a year compounding is going to have a big difference. It's going to make $26.62 versus $26.99. So you're leaving roughly $37.72 on the table that you wouldn't make interest. This is often a trap, my friends. Sometimes places will offer you a higher interest rate on your money, but they're not going to have it compounding continuously. If you ever get into that predicament, my friends, please walk away from that deal. Just ask a simple question. Hey, is my money compounded continuously? And if the person's like, oh, I'm not sure, you don't want to bank there, because the person who's opening an account has no idea how their accounts work. If the person says, no, we only compound it monthly, or we only compound it once a year or twice a year, walk away. You're not going to be making the interest that you could have made. Okay? So does everyone see where the E button is? It's the second of this button down here. If you look at my little finger thing going. So it says E raised to the X. Okay. And so we have some other equations that are available for us to use, which is great. But the thing is, our calculator under our TVM solver, under apps, we can go to this. So if you go to the next page, it says if 8,000 is invested for 6 years at 8% compounded quarterly, it says find the future value and find the compounded interest earned. Okay, so we can go and do this. We're going to go back into our TVM solver. So I invested a one-time amount of $8,000. We did it quarterly, but for 6 years. So what does quarterly mean for you guys? How many times a year? 4. Okay, so I have 4 payments that are going to take place on this, and we are dealing with 6 years. So you can go 4 times 6, and you can just do the 4 times 6 here, and it's going to convert it right away to 24. And then we are getting 8%. So we could just put the 8 right here, and we're doing a previous value of $8,000. And we're not doing any additional payments, but the payment per year, because it's quarterly, we're going to change this to 4. If you down arrow, make that also a 4. So you have the 4s down below. So now we want to find the future value. So you're going to hover in front of the future value. My payment is not a payment that I'm going to make. Okay, I'm not giving an extra $100 each month. What I'm doing is I put a one-time amount of money in, $8,000, for 6 years, and that's going to work. So if I go down here to future value and you hit alpha, enter, so my $8,000 in 3 years is going to be worth $12,867.50. Okay, so that basically means that you made yourself $4,867.50 to have your money just sit there. Now, this is a big argument, especially with the older generation. And I mean, your parents are all around my age. Some might be a little bit older, some might be a little bit younger, and that's fine. Our generation is okay with this. It's the older generation, like my dad or your grandparents. They have such a hard time. They think, I'm just going to keep putting everything in my checking account because I can get to it. And because I'm the money manager for my dad and I have financial power of attorney, I will watch his checking account, and then I will move money over to his savings account because his checking account is earning 0% interest on his money sitting there, whereas his savings account earns a small percent. It's not the best investment, but it's better to earn a little bit of money than no money at all. Okay? So why don't you guys, and we'll just call this good for the rest of the period, why don't you guys let's do this. Go back. Let's get away from screen share. Stop sharing. Why don't you guys, while you're here, try these problems here. Try those 3 problems. See if you can get something from there. And we'll call it good. Deal?